Hello and welcome to Diminishing Returns. We are taking a long-awaited return to the Harry Potter franchise this week as we cover Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. We did cover this film a couple of years ago when it came out in one of our Review of the Year episodes, so this episode is a more in-depth look at it. We are joined by a new guest. Calvin, of course, offered up his thoughts when we went through the film last time round. We're joined by a new guest this week. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Diminishing Returns, and this week we're tackling the Fantastic Beasts' first film. We've already looked at this because we did a Harry Potter thing 2 years ago when Fantastic Beasts was coming out, so it was in our Review of the Year episode back then. So now here is a more detailed review. I'm Alan, and with me as ever is Sol.
Hello.
And with me as never is Chris Hunter.
Howdy doody.
Chris Hunter, our special guest this week. So Chris...
Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Yeah, thank you for
Thanks
joining
for
us. Now, why did you want to come and talk about Fantastic Beasts? Have you got are you a Potter fan?
I am. I absolutely love Harry Potter, especially the films. I used to be proper obsessed with them when they were getting filmed. Always dreamed of going to Leavesden and never made it until they were all finished. So that was perfect.
No, I'm glad we've got a real Harry Potter fan in, because when we covered these films, it was about 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's when we last covered these films. Alan, you're certainly not a fan. No. You fell into your typical role of hating everything that
I could have guessed
the world
as much.
holds dear. I think they're decent. I'm not, but I'm not a huge fan. I'm not like a fanboy or what have you.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a broad spectrum of opinions on. So it's good.
May I ask, Chris, how old are you?
How old am I? That is a good question. 30. I couldn't
30.
remember then. Yes.
Is that a little bit too old for Harry? No, that's about right, I suppose.
That's fine. It's fine.
That's not too much. I keep forgetting how old people are. Like, Solly, what are you like? You're only like 28.
I'm 28.
You are
28. I'm 28. Yeah.
Ugh, that means Calvin's just turned 29, hasn't he?
I think I'm close. I think I'm closer to 29 than 28 as well.
Yeah.
Am I?
See, this
Bunch
is
of
it.
old farts.
I still think you lot, the Harry Potter generation, are so young, but you're not anymore, are you?
That's the issue. We all grew up with them, then everybody grew up and didn't stop growing. So
well, that was it. I was just a little bit too old for Harry Potter, and I never got into it, and so I haven't got that childhood connection to it.
Right, how old are you?
34.
Right.
So I know it's not a big difference, but when you're like,
yeah, I know what you mean though. That's kind of the window, isn't it?
Yeah, I wasn't 11, I was 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference.
I mean, my mum just bought the first book for me based on reading some good reviews, so it's not, I think a lot of it is parents curating kid stuff for their kids as well. Oh, I've heard this is good and they'll like that. I mean, having said that, knowing your mum, Alan, I doubt she'd ever buy you anything nice.
She's never she's never had a book. She's never owned a book. She's never read a book.
Really?
She doesn't read. She reads magazines, things like that. She has some sort of thing where if she reads, she falls asleep. It's like a trigger thing. She can only read for like 45-second bursts, and then she falls asleep. So anyway, this is a good starting point for me. What's the history of Fantastic Beasts? Like, what is it? What's the deal there?
It's based on like a short or a pamphlet or something, isn't it? Like,
yeah, well, it's a book in the series. Like, they actually have it in school. It's one of the school books. But then in real life, it was part of the like Scholastic. I think it was like Red Nose Day or something. They released a bunch of like 3 charity books. So there's like the Quidditch Through the Ages, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and the Tales of Beedle the Bard, I think it was. So they're all
Tales
books
of
that
Beedle's
exist.
About.
Beedle the Bard.
Oh god!
Yeah, it's mainly just pictures of angry claw hands.
I was going to say, has any of our discussion of Jeremy Beadle's little hand ever made it into the show, or has that always come out in the edit, Alan? Because I feel like we've spoken about it quite a lot, but I don't
know if it's come
makes sense to anyone.
I don't recall hearing about it, so I'm going to guess it's hit the edit room floor a few times.
So the Fantastic Beasts book, right? How different is it from Flanimals? Is it just pictures of weird animals with silly names?
Yeah, it's just a little thing with an overview of some beasts that Newt's found throughout his journeys, throughout where he's been looking for them. But since, I think, there was an updated version where they added a few more, and they had Eddie Redmayne read out the audiobook for it as well. So it's kind of tying it all together now. It's making it into a real thing. And they did a book of the screenplay as well. So you can actually read it now, which is weird.
In terms of all the actual story that is contained in this film and the obvious setup for the whole franchise, is that all just new stuff for the film? Or is that
all
got
fresh.
Somewhere?
No, I think as far as I know, it's all fresh screenplay for this.
That makes this even odder then, that this film is so badly structured.
It's an interesting one in that J.K. Rowling was like, "Hey, I'm gonna write a film." And she just stepped in and
apparently they came to her first saying that we want to make like a documentary about Newt where we'll follow him around the world, actually documenting these beasts.
Like a David Attenborough sort of thing. Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, yeah, I think it would have been like an actual documentary, but like a fictional documentary. And she was
that would have been quite a nice little idea, actually. Yeah. That's the sort of thing you do for TV, though. It's not exactly $150 million budget thing, is it?
Yeah, I think that was more of her point. It's like she can just write a new story, make a new universe. Because this is in the same universe as Harry Potter, but it's got nothing to do with the current stuff. It's set 70 years before. It's set the year before Voldemort's even born.
This is my major problem with this film. Okay, because
hang on. Before we dive into properly critiquing it, shall we just quickly refresh how we felt about it last time round? I think I felt it was a perfectly serviceable, if somewhat forgettable, little bit of light entertainment, decent family film. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10. Alan, how are you with it?
I basically found it so pointless that I thought it was going to completely derail the franchise before it even started.
Oh yeah, and we had a bet going that they wouldn't finish the five films.
I don't think it's going to get to film number 5. They're going to cut it off somewhere else. Although it depends how this second one does, I suppose. But it did good business. Yeah. But I just found, and this is my problem with it, I just found it so empty. There's so much they're trying to pack in, but nothing actually happens. If you think of it in terms of film structure or how you like character arcs or anything,
I must say,
nothing going on.
Yeah, on the rewatch, the structure really, really didn't work for me. I remembered thinking that the film was wrapping up and coming to a conclusion, and it was nearly the end. And then I accidentally glanced my mouse over the video, and it revealed that I was almost exactly halfway through the film. 1 hour and 2 minutes in, I think, and an hour and 2 minutes left. And I just thought, oh, God.
That's it, because you've got Newt on this sort of cutesy adventure where he's like, oh, my animals have escaped. Ooh. And then and then you've got all this other stuff that's like with the Wizard Council, and there's a human John Voight, and he's got a son, but the son gets killed. That's what happens at the hour mark. That's like the inciting incident that should happen after 10 minutes.
I've actually got a note saying I'm glad Shaw's dead. I really hated that.
I don't know who he was. I don't know what purpose he has. And then there's this whole thing with Samantha Morton, and obviously that leads somewhere, but it's not. Like, I don't know what they are, why they're there. I mean, I do know why they're there. It is explained, but it's just, it never goes anywhere, and it's not important. It's not interesting.
Again, on this rewatch, it felt way more apparent to me how much of this was just built with that franchise mentality of, let's set this up and we'll do something with it 2 or 3 films down the line, but we haven't quite, we've not really got anything for them to do here. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily the worst thing.
It is a bad thing. Don't say it's not a bad thing. It is a bad thing.
No, it's not necessarily the worst thing, unless it's like every element in the film, which it kind of did feel was...
Plus, why is it called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them when that is not going to be a central thing?
I took issue with you last last time round on this. You have a real problem with that being the name of the film, but it's full of fantastic beasts.
It's got fantastic beasts in there. Okay,
it's the name of the book. Yeah, it's the idea is that you follow a newt.
But the fantastic beasts are not particularly important to the story. And I'll tell you what else that I really disliked about the fantastic beasts is how unfantastic they are. Because there's one thing where it says, "Oh, its site is based on prediction." Oh, that's a cool concept, and that's a very fantastical concept. They don't do anything with it, but it's a good idea that they could have used. Whereas none of the other beasts have anything like that. It's just like, oh, this is like a big rhino thing. And
this thing eats money.
This is a big falcon thing. Yeah, it's like they're not fantastic. They're just slightly bigger. This is like a snake and a bird at the same time. Yeah, exactly. It was just they weren't fantastic enough. And then that one concept of the prediction site thing, which is a really weird thing. And it's like, oh, that's a cool sci-fi concept. And then it's just like, well, why would we use it as a plot point?
Yeah.
We've said it. Isn't that enough?
Yeah. That is odd, actually. Like, I mean, obviously I haven't read the book that it's based on, but I'm assuming the book J.K. Rowling wrote was, pictures of these cool animals and a bit of writing about the cool stuff they could do. So I assume she sat down and thought about all the cool different beasts and all the powers and history of them a bit. So I mean, have you read it? I assume you.
I've listened to it. I listened to the audiobook the other day. So I was a bit lazy about it.
Is it a book that works on that level? Is it not a visual thing?
No, it actually does. It's quite fascinating because what they've done, I think, in order to compensate for not having pictures, they've put occasional like background noise and stuff in or sound effects. So it's almost like one of those machines you get to go to sleep with sometimes, because you'll get like a bit of rainforest, and then you'll have Newt saying, there's such a body can only be found in the jungle, and you can hear the jungle, little monkey screams and stuff. It sounds like a weevil,
Are the animals or the beasts like more inventive in the book? Are they just straight up lifted into the film? Is this just a few of them, and we've got lots more to look forward to, and they're saving
this is just a
ones
few
for
of them
later? Or
I think I don't think the idea is that they're going to make films of showing you like different beasts per thing. I think it's more of a case
don't
of
call it Fantastic Beasts then.
But see, that's the product. That's the byproduct at the end of the story. It's I think it's following Newt's adventure to write this book.
That's the book that Newt writes. So it's not saying this is a film about fantastic beasts and where to find them. That's the book that Newt is.
But that would be an interesting concept. Would be the travels and adventures of Newt Salamander, and then on his way he sees all these fantastic beasts. So he goes to I'm going to this country.
But it's like it's like The Notebook, right? It's not. This is like you going, oh, it's not about a fucking notebook, is it? And it's like, yeah, it's about how it got written and what it means to the characters, isn't it?
But if this film was about Newt Salamander going around and finding creatures and then writing about them in his little book, and on the way he has adventures. So this film he goes to Timbuktu and finds this, and then he goes over to South America somewhere and he finds this, and there's a different story there, and he helps fight crime or whatever. And then over here he goes and stops a dictator from doing something.
This is basically what it's going to be, from what I can tell.
But then he uses the animals as well, as part of his thing, and it's like, oh well, I can stop this by getting this hedgehog and making it turn into.
Well,
a
he
ball
does do that. He
does that. Yeah.
At the end of the film, he's like, oh, I've got this elastic animal
Evil
that I can
wing,
throw at the bad
called.
guy, and it's not really a particularly well written moment, but I can stop him with it. So.
They do use that. It's not done well, but
there
Anyway,
are a
so
couple of
if
liberties
that was
there.
the concept, I was like, okay, I'm going with that. But it's not, is it? It's just like, oh, he's in this much bigger world, and we're just using it as an excuse to get telling this.
I don't know. I think it is chapter 1 of a 5-part thing that is going to show
definitely.
how he comes to, become he'll be the foremost expert in this field, and I'm sure the last one will end with him publishing the book. I bet you one of the films ends with him talking to someone, and they go like, "What's it called? Your book?" And he'll go, "Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them." And
by then, as he had 6 strokes.
Yeah.
Fantastic Beasts, where to find them. I'm gonna guess it ends with a signing in Diagon Alley, like Gilderoy Lockhart and Harry Potter's. He's just full of himself. Hello, I'll sign your books.
I have to say, I found Eddie Redmayne I can't remember. Did I find him grating the last time round?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. I found him quite grating this time round.
Because I liked him and you didn't. You took offence.
I found him quite endearing. I can see where you're coming from, though. I can see that.
I think I warmed to him a bit more this time round, but it was very much that kind of, is he all right? Is this kid?
I think his idea is something that's a little bit amiss in his mind, isn't there? That's the idea.
Yeah, but I think he's meant to be a bit quirky rather than, who else is in this film? Remind me. So we've got Eddie Redmayne. We've got...
the woman.
The woman one.
The woman.
The woman, and then the fat man.
The fat man one.
Yeah, the fat man, who I really like him, but I never remember his name. But his name is Dan Fogler.
I really like the fat man one. He's the best thing in the film for me, I think.
I will agree with that. Yeah, I think he hits the right tone at every level, every point.
Yeah, I think you need that kind of goofy American in it.
Yeah. I every time I look at him, I think of Nathan Lane, and I have no idea why.
It doesn't look like Nathan Lane. Doesn't sound act like him.
Is it like? Is that what Nathan Lane looked like in that Mouse film he did years ago?
Well, Stuart Little.
Maybe.
No, I think he's done a few Mouse films. He did one with Lee Evans.
The Mouse Hunt or Mouse.
Yeah.
Oh, him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Mouse Hunt. Yeah, 1997. So yeah, the other year.
Dan Fogler. That's him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I know him from Balls of Fury. That's his.
Yeah, I did.
Well, here's the thing, though. We're singing his praises, and I was thinking when I watched the end of the film, he's done now. That character's done. That's a shame he won't be in the sequels. Maybe a little cameo.
Of course he will.
Out the Bakers. Yeah, exactly. I've watched the trailer. now, and it's like, oh, yeah, they brought him back.
Well, you watched the end of the film, didn't you? The end of the film was kind of like the Inception spinner. It's like, oh, wait, does he know? Does he not know?
I thought it was very clear that they were setting him up to return in the next one.
Yeah, totally.
He's got all sorts of unfinished.
I thought it was very clear that they were setting him up as a baker.
He's got that romance with what's she called? Is it Queenie? Is
Queenie?
That her name?
Yeah, Queenie.
He's got that romance with her set up that doesn't really pay off in the way that Harry Potter likes to pay off all his romances.
Exactly. What's better than an unrequited romance or a romance that's,
I'm not saying it's better. I'm saying knowing what we're dealing with this franchise, I think it's very likely that they'll end up together, and we'll have a flash forward to them in 20 years' time with kids. And
I want the films to be more episodic, I think, maybe. Just like, this is today's adventure, and then this is the next one. Have some elements going through it, but it just feels too much like I'm watching a franchise, and I just cannot be fucked.
Well, I think that's because they're only the first ones out at the moment. Because if you think of the Harry Potter films, when you watch them as a story that you knew was going to go through. I watched the Harry Potter films.
Well,
you know what I mean.
I watched the first 5 and then gave up because I couldn't be bothered.
Didn't I watch the penultimate one with you at the cinema?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it, so...
Are you sure? Sean invited a load of us along. I think Calvin was there. I thought you were there.
I wouldn't have gone, would I? Because I hadn't seen the ones before it.
I'll have to bleep her name out, but I think that was the start of her really trying it on with me.
Yeah, I bleeped it for you. You're fine. Just put a delay on it.
Yeah, tell the story of when Sol was raped.
I tell you what, I have to say, as well. Right, in post all this Me Too stuff, post Aziz Ansari's becoming a thing that people were complaining about, like she was way more predatory than he was. Reading through that, if I were a woman and she were a man, I really don't think it would come off very well. I think she would be genuinely concerned for her behaviour at the moment.
Yeah.
Coming back, biting her in the ass. Cause... Anyway.
Yeah, don't bite her in the ass. That'll go make it worse for you.
One day she becomes famous and then you can cash in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Chris, just to bring you up there, basically, she was just a very predatory
I was waiting.
And she decided, she zeroed in on me.
Right.
It is weird. The amount of women I've been involved with who've like really zeroed in on me, it's almost all of them. It's very rare.
But that's because you don't make any effort to go out to go to them. So the only ones that get any
it's the ultimate play hard to get.
No, I was going to say it's the one I never get anywhere with the ones I'm interested in, and then it's always some random one at the sidelines who sort of just decides they're really bizarrely into me, and then just kind of go, all right, fine. deal with that. That's fine. But with her, it was a bit like, I don't know about that. Which is a shame, because, like nowadays, I'd be like, yeah, sure. But I had standards back then, so...
what are they?
Anyway.
I mean, she wasn't anything worth chasing.
No, I know, but I've done a lot worse since. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Oh, right.
I don't know what
your bar slipped a bit.
I don't know what my I don't know why I was acting all hoity-toity about it back then.
Hoity-toity.
But I guess I hadn't diluted the pool too much back then. It was like, I've only slept with about 3 people at this point. If one of them's, you got to keep a standard up. Whereas now it's like, yeah, whatever. But one thing where there's sex in this film implicitly, is when Queenie meets Thingy and she's like, "Hey, totally cool that you were thinking about banging me, because everyone does it."
Most boys think what you're thinking.
It's a weird moment, isn't it?
It was for a Harry Potter franchise film. I thought, damn, that's not too shabby.
I don't know. Like, you're implying that his thoughts were, "I'd like to fuck that bitch." Whereas
he's just thinking smash.
Yeah, anyone else might be thinking like, "Oh, she's nice. I like her."
I probably am completely projecting my own mental psyche onto this film now that you say it.
Because all she says is, "Don't worry, all men think that when they first meet me." Basically,
yeah, he could have been thinking nice dress.
No, but he says something like, "Oh, gee,
Mamma mia!
I wouldn't, I wish I would have known you was a thought reader, because I wouldn't have been thinking what I was thinking," and he gets all embarrassed more than yeah, and I don't know, I think the reaction suggests it was more than just "Oh, I'll buy her some roses." And...
This made me think, actually, like, if you could read minds and you could do it from birth, so it's like it's just normal to you, it would completely change your perspective on whenever you meet anyone, because it's just, there's nothing like something like that, which if you suddenly could read someone's mind, you're like, "Oh my god, that's what they think of me." It's completely different.
You'd always get first impressions. Like, you'd always get true, honest first impressions.
Exactly, yeah. And she's like, every man I've ever met since I was 12 years old has had that thought. So it's like, I'm totally used to it now. So, which is...
Hang on, wait, what?
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, it took me a second to register what you just said.
I'm just brushing the hell past that one.
Now,
I was like, okay, I'll talk.
All right, you go and ask... You go and ask your female friends or companions or whatever when they were first started getting sort of sexually harassed.
Yeah, you said every man.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true, is it?
Yeah, I've never had an inkling towards 12-years-olds.
I was going to say,
I guess not every man walking past.
Neither have I.
Stop audibly winking at us as you say it, Alan.
I can almost hear your lashes. It's like a Ren and Stimpy cartoon. When they zoom right in, you can hear like that.
Anyway, my point was that's quite an interesting concept.
Yeah,
that I've
right.
never really seen evaluate. Like, just one person in a world that doesn't have that.
I like how they play it here. I kind of was disappointed that they didn't really get into her character at all, really. But I think it is very much, she's been set up to have a bigger role in a sequel down the line.
Yeah, and she is.
I think
the character works because she's kind of really passive, or she's just kind of really peaceful and tranquil. I think if you knew
she's a bit
everybody's
floaty.
inner thoughts, you would have to find a peace somewhere, because I think you'd be a lot more tolerant of people. I think you would think you wouldn't see the worst in people, I think, because you've seen the worst in everyone. Do you know what I mean?
There's different levels of thought, though, bear in mind, because I almost have like a Tourette's level of thought where I'll see people and have like the worst thought imaginable, but I don't even, it's not like I agree with that thought on any level. It's like my mind is daring me to think it.
Can you give us an example?
You might meet a what can I say that won't maybe sound terrible?
At least you've got a filter. That's something.
If you, well, no, it's not even. That's what I mean. It's not even a filter, because it's not even like on any level I would necessarily. I don't know. You might see a homeless person, and your thought is like, fucking homeless, nuke the homeless. but then your mind immediately goes, whoa, hang on, you don't think that. You just kind of
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You just
you
kind
start
of
thinking, shit, it's cold. I hope he's got somewhere to go.
Interesting.
Well, Alan just kicks them, but
I mean, that's a bad example because I went for something mild. But
murdering all the homeless people, that's your mild.
well, yeah, because no one's sticking up for the homeless. No one cares about them. It's just a shame. So donate to your local homeless charity, listener. Hey, all right.
No, don't.
yes.
It just encourages them.
To be homeless.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're sitting there going, you know what, I love being homeless. I'm going to keep doing this.
You know, I don't know. Let's say you meet a very attractive woman and you'll be talking to them, blah 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 blah. It's completely innocent, and then you might have a thought that's sexual in nature, but you're not even it's someone that you're not even attracted to or have any intention towards, or even, do you know what I mean? It's just kind of
just
like
the
that just
chemistry part
popped in
kicks
there because your brain was kind of thinking, wouldn't it be awkward if you thought about this while you were talking to this person?
God. Yeah, that is the worst. I have that problem sometimes.
This is like the Peep Show nights.
Yeah.
The inner thoughts of Sol.
But do you guys not have that? Like I say, it's like mental Tourette's.
Yeah,
it's like,
I do
not even,
sometimes.
Yeah, it's not even reflective of your actual.
I tend to get it in
thoughts,
I get it more of like a seething hatred kind of style, where I'm like, I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah, I get
and
that.
I start thinking, wait, why? I don't hate him at all. I just
That's it. I've had
don't
that.
like him.
I've had that. I'll be talking to someone. I'll just think, you fucking piece of shit. I hate you, and it's like, no, I don't. Why do you think
I really don't. I've got no reason to. It's just suddenly popped in.
Yeah.
You ever considered therapy?
Oh yeah.
This is therapy. What are you on about? I was promised this therapy.
You know who else is a bizarre casting choice? I'm really like there were waves across the cinema when he popped up. Johnny Depp popping up at the end for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
As
Well,
an alternate form of Colin Farrell. That's
he was using a thingy charm, like a masking charm.
Colin Farrell is the alternate form.
Yeah,
But
of him.
it's interesting. This isn't the first time they've both played the same character, because it happened in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus as well.
yeah. Well, that's part of why it seems so weird. Yeah, and the other. I mean, how does that work? Because he's clearly put a bit of thought into his appearance, Grindelwald. He's clearly spent a bit of time, slicking his hair back that morning, getting all prim and proper.
Well, presumably he's spent about 20 years building up a career to become a top member of the secret wizard service or whatever they are. Because he's not like a low power thing, is he?
But how does this work on a day-to-day basis? Because he's trimming his moustache and, he's getting all prim and proper, and then he's putting a magic cloak on that makes him look like someone else entirely, that's presumably just projecting...
I see what you're saying. The actual Grindelwald's looking quite well groomed.
Yeah, and...
Well, do you? Well, no, I thought that moustache was like, oh shit, I wasn't supposed to show my true form today. Look at this stupid moustache I've got.
But it's bleach blonde. He's obviously thought about, unless it's just meant to be the
He's just old.
Magic.
It's meant to be grey, I think.
Isn't his haircut very slick back though? I mean, maybe
He's got like the shaved side situation going on. He's just like an older form, really.
You know what it is? He's got that look where he's meant to look a bit scraggly and rough, but it's the Hollywood version because they couldn't bear to actually make him look like that. So he ends up looking like a model. He's got kind of that kind of photo shoot.
It's Johnny Depp. Do you not know? And it's like a.
He looks like a model who's been left in a river for 4 days.
Yeah, he's a bit rough.
Just slightly bloated. Is this the only reason he's working at the moment? Is this because he was already contractually tied
Yeah,
in?
well, they've really dug their heels in and been defending him,
They've got to, haven't they?
Well, have they? I'm sure they could have ousted him.
He's taken the form of Gary Oldman now. Look at least.
But they'd probably have to pay him and then just not have him in the film, so they probably thought, we might as well get the best out of him. But no, even J.K. Rowling's been very defensive of him being in the film, which is, it's odd because she's very outspoken against this sort of stuff, and it seems quite hypocritical of her, honestly.
I don't think she could just push it aside if she actually believed he had anything.
Yeah.
So I've got a question here.
Yeah.
That relates to this whole thing. Why do the magical people hide it from the real world?
You know what? One of my biggest issues with this film that I couldn't quite put my finger on the first time I watched it, but I did lock it down on this viewing, is you completely lose the sense that this is set in the real world from the get-go. It from the very beginning, it feels like it's set in a magical kingdom, and I think it's because it isn't a realistic portrayal of old-time New York. It's a heightened reality. It's a kind of very fantastical, hey, you know, we've seen what fantastical depictions of New York are like, and therefore... Because Harry Potter feels a lot more, this is set in the real world. Oh, look, there's a magic world within the real world, and you just don't get that here. So, I
think the reason for that would be the timeline. Because if you think about it, with Harry Potter and stuff, all the wizarding things are always still kind of old-fashioned. So you know straight away things are wizardy because they look older in the modern world. Whereas there, everything kind of still ties in. Yeah. You know, it's still got that kind of, you know, late 19th century vibe to it.
Both times I've had to watch, or both times I've watched this film, I've had to mentally remind myself repeatedly for the first half hour or so, oh yeah, these people aren't all wizards. This is a group of muggles, and there's just like 2 wizards.
Yeah.
And there's so much, they make such a big deal of, oh, we can't let them see what's happening. And then there's so much going on with like fantastical beasts running around and like smashing stuff up. And then they're like, oh, no, there just happens to be no one around here in New York, in this particular part of New York. There's no one around.
There's a lot of parallels with Men in Black, aren't there? setting up the American guy with the moustache to be Agent K in the sequel, where they've got to bring him back. They've got like a big neuralizer at the end. They're like, how do we in fact, similarities with Men in Black too.
I made this note.
How do we neuralize? Can we really neuralize all of New York? And then he goes, oh yeah, and presses the button, and the Statue of Liberty flashes its...
This is what this is the note I wrote. The note I wrote.
The note you wrote.
Why don't they just use the giant obliviator in the Statue of Liberty's torch? that is what I wrote. Why is it this big deal that they try to hide it? And they seem to be saying, basically, if they find out that we're magic and we can have magic and blah, 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 it'll start a war. But why are they concerned with that when it is a war they would very obviously win?
Why can't they? Well, because they don't want to kill everyone.
They're not trying to just start wars with people.
See, now this is extraordinarily rare in people, but that's.
It's like we don't want to,
especially in the 20s.
We want to save the rainforest as much as we can without having to do too much to save it.
But we don't,
it's the
do
same
we?
Thing.
Because we're not saving the rainforest at all. Well,
that's exactly my point. We want to save it without actually having to do very much work to save it, and that's what these guys don't want to.
No. Believe me, I can believe that a wizard person wouldn't want to particularly destroy humanity or anything, but the community as a whole, I don't know if they had that sense of control. Because,
well, here's a question.
You know, a person is smart, but people are stupid and panicky.
More Men in Black. Men in Black.
Yeah, thank you.
But
here's a question: why don't they just let everyone have magic and just integrate?
Well, you can't just give someone magic.
No, but
that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just it's not like an STD. You can't just spread it around town. You've got to be born with it or not.
But a couple of generations on,
you wouldn't have to destroy humanity. You would just have a 2-tier society in which they were in power.
Which is already what they have, because they've got fucking goblins who are made to run the bank, and they've already got very, hierarchical society. What are they scared of? Because if they don't want to have a 2-tier society where there's kind of a higher class and a lower class, essentially, of people, well, they've already got that. It's just the lower class don't know about it. And if they're worried about it being an uprising and them kicking off and not accepting it, like they basically are being tricked into accepting it already, well, they would completely quash any sort of uprising immediately. There'd be there's no contest. So what's the problem?
Yeah.
Plus, it's just not realistic that there's not some wizard that's just going in to get a bit of rough in the real world and like showing off with his tricks and that, and like getting girls in bars. Like must happen all the time.
David Copperfield. I'd really like it if there was a seedy character, like in that sort of environment, who was just a complete muggle, but he was just completely integrated into the world, and for whatever reason they just kind of, because he was a bit of a dodgy criminal guy, played by Benicio del Toro.
You've got to have someone who's a connection to that world, who can go into that world and like get you your black market stuff that you can't get in the world of wizards.
The big fight at the end with the evil beast that's not a real beast; it's an absence of beasts.
Oh, you mean the big black cloud thing?
Yeah, didn't that remind you of
I love
the end of Venom?
Venom.
I don't know. I've not seen it.
Just a big swirling cloud of black gunk that you can't tell what's going
It
on.
makes sense. I guess it's the same thing, isn't it? It's a massive symbiote, except you just don't see it when it's on someone. It's in them.
Yeah.
It's like a suppository symbiote.
Just the basic premise of this. I really love the idea of a Harry Potter film that's just kind of a tangent set in olden times New York. I mean, not olden times, but
Yeah, totally.
yeah, period piece.
Yeah, it's 70 years ago.
I like that they just did that, committed to it, went
Yeah.
with it, instead of doing, what's Ron's kids up to with Hermione?
Yeah.
Which would have been the more commercially obvious, viable way of doing it.
Yeah, we all know it would have been Ron working in Greg's.
I'm sure the fact that it's set in America probably appealed to Warner Brothers, though. They were probably like, oh yeah, Harry Potter set in America? Fantastic.
Yeah, finally.
We just need one set in China now, and then we're set.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, funny you should say that. The next one is set in Europe, I think, and then after that, the rest are going to be set outside of Europe and the North America, so it'll just be wherever else is left.
Okay, so it was where is the next one set? Just all around Europe, or is it like a specific...
The next one, it's going to be like London and France, I think.
Okay.
England and France.
London seems like we've already had 8 films of...
Yeah.
I mean, they go to
Yeah,
London.
well, they're going back to Hogwarts, aren't they? I meant England, not London.
Yeah, and the next one's going to be set in Qatar.
Qatar.
Little football joke for you there, Sol.
Oh, is that what that? I just thought it was a funny country to pull out.
No, because Qatar are hosting the next World Cup, even though it's the most inappropriate place to do it, because they paid a lot of money to do it.
Okay. They go to actual London in the Harry Potter films, so don't they? In like the start of one.
Yeah,
of them?
they have done. Yeah.
The zoo. They go to the zoo in one of them. There's a snake.
Yeah. So
That's
that
true.
I don't know. That just seems a bit of a waste. Set it in Prague. Set it in where else is there in Europe? Set it in the Vatican.
Germany.
That'd be
the
fun.
Vatican.
Turns out the Pope's actually a wizard. He's just fucking with everyone.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
There was a lot of correlation between this, the evil black shit, and the church. All that years of suppression comes out into really angry violence and horrific things.
They only go inside children.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh god! I mean, I was waiting to see how long it would take one of us to manage to connect those dots, and there we go. Brilliant.
So what else? Because it's difficult to go through this film like via the plot because there isn't really one.
The plot's kind of there's like a Westboro Baptist Church type thing going on.
Yeah, it's the second Salemers. So yeah, it's literally that they are following on from the work from the people from the Salem witch trials. It's that kind of thing. So they still genuinely believe there's witches out there and they want them dead.
Well, here's the problem with that.
Yeah.
There are witches out there. So painting them as these mad people who are sort of like going, they're so crazy, they believe in witches.
Well, I don't know if they're painting them as mad, crazy people. I think they're painting them as unpleasant people who want to
Fanatics.
kill people who aren't harming them and, doing them no wrong. Bloodthirsty. Like
who
me.
are they killing?
What?
They're just extremists.
Who are they killing?
No, they want to.
When?
Yeah, they want them burnt at the stake.
Yeah, witches.
Yeah. You're saying witches
That's
aren't
what we're
people.
talking about.
I'm saying that if you're going to hide your magic powers to use it for your benefit, then don't be surprised when people turn against you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's fair. Don't be surprised when it scares people and they misunderstand what you're all about. But just because don't be surprised when it happens, it's still a bad attitude to have, isn't it?
I just think it's unfair on them. I mean, it's driven that woman completely insane. The Samantha Morton character, she's mental. And that's because,
she was a bit out there, wasn't
she's
she?
seen things that she knows can't happen. And people just won't believe her.
Can't they just do magic on her to make her like sane, to make her think different?
Obliviatus.
Yeah, can't they just magic her to make her?
Yeah, they could obliviate her.
Yeah.
No, because that's dark magic. I remember now because they did that in the Harry Potter books. There was where was it now?
Stupid.
Barty Crouch. Remember Barty Crouch Jr. and Barty Crouch Senior. I forgot what the word is now, but they have a spell where you can basically take somebody over. And they become, you control them.
Possession.
But it's one of the
Puppetarmus.
I forgot the name.
Did you specifically choose a word that sounded like anus at the end there, or was that just
You always ends with Armus.
just the implication there is you're going to enter through the rear and seize control and wear them like a glove,
But yeah, no, it's extremely illegal to use that kind of magic, basically.
Can't you just magic it so that it is legal?
But is it?
Oh no, that's the point of the Congress, isn't it? So that they can't just do stuff like that.
But if you magically do it, who's going to stop you? Like, if you magic it so that it is legal and no one remembers that it was illegal.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that, but I mean, to magic it, there's no sort of like you can't do like mass scale. Here's a new law. It's not like you can make it rain.
It's fair enough.
It's
a delicate line, isn't it? It's like saying,
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
They don't want to get involved, do they? They want to have
Yeah, they're just trying to coexist without butting in.
It is. It's like if in Star Trek they landed on a new planet and then tried to live side by side, integrated within the community of like these aliens without letting them know that they were there or actually doing anything with them. Yeah. It's an odd choice.
You know his magic TARDIS briefcase, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do this whole big scene in it where they're going down there, and it's the big scene where they do all the animals, right? And you see all these boring animals. Now, my problem with that, apart from that the animals aren't fantastical enough, is that it is just a 10-minute scene to go, ooh, let's look at this CGI animal. Ooh, let's look at this CGI animal. It's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
But also, I've no frame of reference for it. It's not like, oh, this is going to mean something, or this is going to do something, or this is, you remember that in this world that we've set up, this happened, well, this is about that. It's just an arbitrary 10-minute bit where they just go, oh, look at this thing. It's what?
Yeah, well, I think it's solidifying what Newt's doing and why he's doing it. You know, he's a conservationist. You know, so like he's going around the world trying to collect these creatures to make sure they can still exist.
And the twist at the end is that the American guy goes down there and then he sees like, oh, this is a nice little area you got here, TV, armchair. Oh, very nice. Hang on, wait a minute, I can't get out. And Newt's like, oh yes, that's the human enclosure. And
the muggle pen.
I finally got one.
Your kind hasn't got long for its existence. I need to preserve you.
Don't worry, I'll find you a female muggle you can breed.
Yeah, and the implication is humanity will be gone within a couple of years, and he's just harvesting a few specimens.
That would be a deep ending. Very deep.
A lot more interesting than
the Twilight Zone ending.
I've finished all my notes. So I haven't got any of them interesting.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I mean,
I didn't even look at mine.
I felt almost exactly the same on the rewatch as I did the first time round with this film. I thought it was just kind of.
I remember passable. Being angry about it the first time round, and this time it was just like, it's passable. But having said that, I didn't change my rating of it, so I guess I was just a bit more.
What did you give it last time? Remind me.
I give it 5 out of 10.
That's quite harsh, but I don't know.
I think it's a bit low.
Yeah, I gave it a 7, and I mean, I don't know. Chris, what would you give this out of 10 as a fan?
I would give this an 8.
Okay.
Which I was thinking a bit higher, but at the same time I thought I'm going to try and be honest. Not just be full fan on this. I do love it. I know it's going to go somewhere, but my issue is like what I was saying before about the Harry Potters. When I came into them, the first one was already out, and the second one was about to come out. So I kind of got into it when it was already in full swing.
Chris, you're a Harry Potter fan, right? Have you ever queued to buy a Harry Potter book like on the day of release? Were you that fan?
Yeah, I was that. Yeah, I've been at, I think, 2 or 3 midnight launches, and I've been in a digital queue as well for The Cursed Child.
So how long were you in this queue?
Oh, I don't know. It was a midnight launch at Asda. It wasn't exactly majestic.
So it wasn't like, were you queued up in character and all that? Did you wear the little clothes?
No, I didn't go that far. No.
Is it more about the experience and the fun of it than actually?
Don't try and justify it for him.
Well, no, I'm trying to figure.
What do you mean being at the midnight launch?
Because you're not going to get to read much of it that night, are you? I assume.
So you underestimate the power of a Harry Potter fan. I read The Goblet of Fire in a day. If
there was a worldwide epidemic, everyone was dying, and then they created the vaccine, I wouldn't go and get it on the first day. You just know everyone would be there. All these twats would be there trying to get it first.
Did you know she invented a new word for this film?
Well, several names of these creatures.
No match.
No. I mean, this is. Shit, I wrote it down somewhere. Where the hell is it?
A word that's
it's a weird
come
word.
into common usage already.
No, people can't even say it. But it's Coenoptaxis, which apparently Coenoptixis, something like that. It's basically that, you know, that big the snaky bird thing that can shrink and grow.
Yes.
That word means something that could just take up the space of what it's in. It's from two different Greek words.
That's kind of cool.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of
that's
a
concept
funky.
We don't really have a word for. That's actually quite a nice concept. That's
Well,
like when you
exactly,
find
so-
out there's a word for something in like Norwegian or something. Then you're like,
Like
oh, that's a really
Schadenfreude.
good concept. I wish we had a word for that.
But yeah, I like it when people create words like that when it's not like, you know, the new LOL or whatever the hell it is. Not a stupid Essex culture or whatever.
Oh, you know
so
what?
Fucking annoying.
Have you seen they just put a shitload of film words in the dictionary?
Are they? Oh god.
Something like 200 film words were just added to, I think, the Oxford.
Snoogans.
Do you want to have a? Do you want to have let me pull the list.
Snooch to the nooch.
The vast majority of them are things like Lynchian and Spielbergian and Tarantino-esque
right.
and Kubrickian.
Well, I can get behind some of them.
So, like, the vast majority
Smith.
just seem to be directors' names with.
Is Kevin Smith just Smithish?
Smithy.
Let me have a look. I've got some of them here. I don't think this is a full list, but we've got Scream Queen. This is what I hate when they just add a phrase. So that's a phrase. That's not a word.
That's not a word, is it? If you can see the other words in there, it doesn't count.
Binge watch. I mean, that's not a new word. That's
Yeah,
just
that's
words
two words
being
put
used that
together
already
in
existed
the way that words are in sentences.
and mean the same thing when they're like that they would separately. Like that's not even like it takes on a new meaning. Mumblecore. That's fair enough.
Mumblecore.
Yeah,
You love that, don't you, Saul?
I fucking hate it. No, but it's a legit word, isn't it? It's, you know, fuck's sake, they've added non-diegetic. So, is diegetic not good enough there that we've just got that? Oh, here we are. This is why I meant to bring this up in the Suspiria recording. I forgot because they've added giallo to the dictionary.
Oh, yeah.
Giallo.
Giallo. It's a
Giallo.
genre of Italian.
Well, what does it
Typically
mean
horror
in Italian,
thriller.
then? I presume it was in Italian.
Yellow.
Oh.
It means yellow. It refers to the yellow paperback novels, novellas, pulpy things that were sold, which were typically like, you know, cheap pulpy thrillers and horror films with lots of killings. Ooh, here we. Oh wow, right, I've got a full list of words here. I feel like I should do a game with this, but I have no idea how it would work.
There you go. You've had your intro.
AFI is in there. I don't think that should be allowed. That's just
That's
a band.
That's just an. Well, it's not even an acronym, is it?
it's a proper noun. I don't think proper nouns should be allowed in the dictionary.
It's a fire inside. It's a band, isn't it?
BBFC, BFI. This is bullshit. Blink and you'll miss it. That doesn't belong in the dictionary, Oxford. This is absurd.
Acronym.
Cineliterate. I don't know if I like that. That's clearly slang. That's just kind of cinematography. Fuck off. Of course that was already in the dictionary. There's no way that wasn't in the dictionary.
Yeah,
already.
that must have been in the dictionary before now.
They've added Groundhog Day, noun. What is this bullshit? I'm never gonna buy another Oxford dictionary in my life. Oh, they've added Herzogian. Pleased about that.
I've never heard that said, though.
Herzogian, you're right, yeah. They have added Kaiju. That's cool. That deserves to be there.
Oh, nice.
They've added
Yeah, I do like
Indiana
Kaiju.
Jones, noun. What? This is absurd.
What?
Anyway, let's do our thing. And
Oh,
I've
shit,
got
yeah.
I've
Gotta
got to
do
go
that shit.
somewhere tonight. So.
Yeah. So, if they were making another one of these, what would be
Sequel
the
time.
That'll never happen.
what would be the best way to do it? I quite like the idea of just anthologizing the Potter universe, and I like that this is one set in New York back in the day.
Yeah.
So let's have one in like ancient Egypt or something.
I think there's a chance. I mean, I think the idea is that it's going to be following beasts around the world, and from where the descriptions are from, they're going to be all over the shop. So I'm personally looking forward to the Asia one.
But if they do this, are they going to start going to Germany and be like, oh look, we have to just catch this little flibbertigibbet, but oh look, Adolf Hitler
Flibbertigibbet.
in the Munich Putsch.
No,
Oh, don't worry, nothing will
do
come of that. He's just a little man
Yeah.
with no power.
It's fine. He's no bother.
Wouldn't that be great though? Wouldn't that be
That would be
brilliant if they had the
actually
balls
awesome.
to do that? Like
That would be amazing,
Like
yeah.
one of his giant rhinos escapes, and it's like it traps a muggle, and he saves this muggle's life. And then he goes, "I shall never forget this. Oh, my name is Adolf Hitler, and I will remember you."
He was allegedly obsessed with the occult, wasn't he? I don't know how much of that Indiana Jones made up, but there was some truth to that. So maybe he saw some magic happening, and he was just trying to chase it down for the rest of his life.
Maybe.
How far back does the Magic Society go in these Harry Potter, this universe? Like, have they ever established that?
It's pretty damn far back. In the next film, we're going to meet somebody who's 300 and something years old. But
I mean, does it go back to the dawn of humanity, or were there wizarding cavemen knocking around?
Was Jesus a wizard that got out of hand?
Oh,
And they had to
please make that
punish
as a
him by
film.
crucifying.
Well, I'm genuinely intrigued to know, because I can guarantee you J.K. Rowling has an answer for it and has thought about it.
oh yeah, she will. She's probably even told an answer for it, but I don't have a memory. So,
Because if it doesn't go back to the dawn of civilization, there must have been a point where, like, the first magician figured out he could do magic, or she could do magic, and was like, "Whoa, that's weird."
no, do you know those little sherbet sticks that you get,
Yeah, the sort of the ones where
like cocaine for kids?
the ones where you can never get the full contents
Yeah,
out,
because it
always clumps
globs up at the
and-
end.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, I figured if Fanta made them, they could release this film. It's called Fanta Sticks and Where to Fund Them, and it's about a kid who's trying to get money from his nan so he can go buy some sherbet sticks. Granted, it's not a deep story.
Well, this is episode 125 or something. That might be the worst idea we've ever had.
Yes, I made it.
Let's satisfy ourselves with actually trying to think where they're going to take the story, because the trailer doesn't really give much away. It's just like, oh, actiony thing over here. Oh, Johnny Depp. Ooh.
Well, Grindelwald's obviously a big part this time.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, in the lore of Harry Potter, there's a massive legendary fight between Dumbledore and Grindelwald.
Oh yeah, I
Well, there
forgot
is a
he was
young
in this new
Dumbledore,
one. We should probably mention that. Yeah, Dumbledore's in
yeah,
the new one.
Jude Law. Yeah, Jude Law is Dumbledore in the new one.
Did you know that?
Yeah. Well, I saw Jude Law in the trailer, and I was like, ugh.
And
I didn't know who he was playing.
and the film's rightly so being criticised for,
Having
not
Jude Law in it.
not making anything out of Dumbledore's homosexuality that J.K. Rowling's been making a big song and dance about. Oh, by the way, Dumbledore was gay, by the way. And then the anti-PC brigade have been very like, oh, for God's sake, social justice warriors won't let it be. They're not complaining they're complaining he's not gay enough. And it's like, no, it's because J.K. Rowling's made such a song and dance about, oh, he's gay, by the way. He was gay, had a romance with a young, as a young man. It's like, all right, well, how about you actually put your money where your mouth is, and we see that in the film? Because otherwise, it's just nothing. If you're just gonna never, I mean, obviously, you don't have to go into every character's sexuality, but it just seems very cheap. Having said that, I haven't seen the film, and for all I know, he gets off with Grindelwald at the end. So
yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? The only thing you could do. Because he's not the character that's going to have a love story, is it? He's like the mentor character.
I don't know.
yeah.
They gave
Well, he's the teacher, so
they gave the American guy something of a romance in the first one, and he's sort of a side character.
Yeah, but he's the sidekick. The kooky sidekick can get a girl out of his league. That's fine.
Right. New Harry Potter film. Right. This the actual pitch. Right. It's set in the world of Harry Potter, but this time we're going to the future, and what we've got here is like that sort of subgenre that I can't remember the name of that took off in the 80s and the 90s that was kind of like a fusion of sci-fi and fantasy.
Oh, right.
Like, is it Shadowrun, the Dungeons and Dragons equivalent that's a bit more sci-fi? You have sci-fi stuff going on with hackers and internet, but robots and stuff, but then maybe robots are brought to life with magic and the goblins cast a spell. It's it's both together. So we're Harry Potter's world, but it's like 100 years in the future, sci-fi world. Humanity has advanced to the point that humans can compete with magic. Magic society hasn't advanced at all. Yeah. So now we're on equal pegging.
Now let's have a war.
And a scientist
Star Wars?
A scientist discovers some way of reading magic stuff with his technology. He's like, what's this weird energy reading? Oh, there's this whole magic society buried around us, and humanity finds out, and it's the all-out war between Muggles and wizards, and there's a resistance group who are trying to bring peace.
I think they're really outnumbered, though, aren't they?
What, the wizards?
Yeah.
Yeah, but all right, they're more powerful, but we've got enough technology to kind of make it an equal pegging thing now. And anyway, we join a band of resistance fight, a little team of people who are trying to stop there being all out war somehow. I quite like this. I think this would be good.
So what you're saying is you'd have a wizard Wakanda,
yeah,
and then you'd have a real people Avengers trying to stop him.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good. I like the sounds of that.
The resistance group, you've got to have some wizards and some like Muggles mixed together there. It's got to be a good.
You've got to have
a house elf in there, but he's like a real fucking. Yeah. It's like voiced by Danny DeVito, badass.
Yeah, like a gnarly.
He's seen some
he's
shit.
Like lost a leg in the war.
Yeah, he's lost an eye. Yeah. I genuinely, I'd actually really like to see this film. I'm quite pleased with this.
Yeah, get it pitched to the woman herself.
Yeah,
Lady Rowling, if you're listening.
And it started off as me being silly and thinking sci-fi future, but I think genuinely, I think people wouldn't mind seeing the Harry Potter world projected forward a few hundred years. I could see that.
Yeah.
I don't know if J.K. Rowling.
There's bound to be some fan theories already.
Yeah.
I mean, people love writing fanfics and stuff, don't they? So there might even be some out there. They'll probably turn to porn halfway.
As Newt looked down at her fantastic beaver. This isn't the same sort of fantastic beast that I'm used to, but I'm sure I can tame it, said Newt, with a wry grin in his face.
It'd be like the sex scene in Forrest Gump.
But look at those fantastic breasts.
No, I'm pleased with that. Genuinely, I think that's a good idea. That not what I just said. The one before that.
Yeah.
I like both. both are solid foundations.
I'll try and get a deal. Pitch the first one, but only if they also commission the second one at the same time.
Yeah, that's it. It's an all or nothing deal.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Fantastic beasts and where to find them. Let's put a nail in that one. Done. Dusted. Not coming back for a third episode, though of course we will no doubt get to Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald or whatever it's called in our upcoming inevitable review of the year episode for this year. Thanks once again to Harry Potter expert Chris Hunter for coming and being in this week's episode with us. Now, Chris, if you enjoyed Chris's input, then do go and check out his podcast, the Chris Hunter Comedy Podcast. I don't think we mentioned it in our intro to this episode. We probably should have, but Chris is a stand-up comedian in his own right. He also does a regular Let's Play with his partner, Charlie. So do check out his gaming podcast, Let's Talk Games. They stream that on Twitch on the first Sunday of each month. You can find that at twitch.tv/LPGTube. You can find him on Twitter, ChrisHunterCom and LPGTube. They're the two Twitter handles. And, of course, the Chris Hunter Comedy Podcast, which is available in all the usual places. iTunes and what have you. Google it. Find it. It's out there. Now, do come back next week as we begin part 1 of a 2-parter, because the next series we're looking at is such a big bastard. We've split it in 2. We couldn't cover it all in one episode. See you then. Bye.